If you think Gen Z is lazy in the workplace, I can see why, but you're missing what's different for us. I, of course, am a part of Gen Z, and my whole life is from the perspective of the inside looking out, but for the purposes of this video, I've done my best to see from the outside looking in. So here's what I've noticed. From the beginning, since childhood, we were told that we could literally be anything we wanted. And quite frankly, that's true. We also had access to prime internet. When internet was becoming huge, social media was becoming rampant, we had access to all of that. And naturally, we saw other people living their lives. It was a constant battle for attention, and it was constant comparison between you and the people who you see online. And through this usage of social media and consuming how other people live their lives, it gave rise to the question of, do I really want to pursue this career path? Is what I'm doing really the end goal? And so naturally, we kind of wanted to try a whole bunch of things instead of just stick with one thing and pursue that for 40 years. And naturally, as kids, we had these different expectations of who we could be moving forward and what our dream outcome is. A lot of people wanted to make a lot of money, myself included. A lot of people were seeing rise to the early influencers like Jake and Logan Paul, who started on different platforms and just became popular with every platform after that. Now they're millionaires living the lives that they've always dreamed of having without working a 9 to 5, which also proved the question of, is this path that I'm pursuing really worth it? And if you guys are anything like me, you were wondering, if that person can do it, why can't I too? How can I do exactly what they have done? We have unlimited options, but we also have unlimited questions on what to do and how to pursue it. And that's partially why our minds are always wondering, how can we do more? Now, this is probably the most relevant and relatable concept in this video, and that is the discrepancy between the cost of living and the wage that you are paid. And the truth is, Gen Z's effort feels disconnected from the reward that we get. Previous generations like to assume that it is just a linear progression. The harder that you work, the better your reward will be. The harder you work, the quicker you'll climb that corporate ladder. And that could not be farther from the truth in 2026. Now, whether they knew that or not doesn't matter. What matters is that's not how it is today, and therefore we are reacting accordingly. Gen Z has built up this history of clocking in and out at the exact times, not working any additional hours, especially if you're not getting paid for it, not answering phone calls, not answering emails after work hours. We come to work, we do the tasks, and we leave work. That is the reputation that we have built thus far. Additionally, $100,000 a year salary was kind of a big deal when we were growing up. That was like the metric of success was, oh my gosh, you've hit 6 figures. Like, wow, you are doing great for your family. You can now support your family, still have time for investments, still go on vacations. 100 grand seemed like a double thumbs up. Wow, good for you. And these days, 100 grand is like the bare minimum you need to live alone in a big city. So what this means is that the cost of living has gone up compared to previous decades. And because of this, the nominal number of $100,000 suddenly is valued less than it used to be, again, in previous decades. And another piece to this whole equation is that even if you, as a Gen Z person, went to university, you got your degree, it doesn't really change the amount of jobs you can get or the quality of the jobs that you get, or even the base salary. And that right there begs the question of, is this worth it? Were those past 4 years of going through school and studying worth it, when the majority of people are still fighting for the same jobs that people who didn't go through university are still applying for as well? And that notion then leads into the whole, is the amount of time and effort that I put into my actual job plus its own commute, some people are commuting still up to 3 hours a day, myself included, how much of this is worth it? Is there ways we can do this better? Are there ways we can do this better? How can we close the gap between the effort that we put in and the amount of money that we make to just live and survive in today's day and age? And this right here creates a net negative, which means that the money that we gain does not make up for how much we lose in the process. And our generation typically cannot stand the notion of just pull up your pants and work harder, because working harder in this day and age does not get you more money. Now, we live in an age where we saw both of our parents working. Typically, both parents were working around the years of the 2000 to 2010 as we were growing up, and we got to experience all kinds of emotions and what they are going through on a day-to-day basis. Not only would they be working extra hours, sometimes without pay, but they would have all that stress come back home with them and still find time to take care of their own children, which of course, props to them, grateful to have that as a child, but At the same token, we got to experience their burnout firsthand. And this burnout is not an ideal feeling, not something that we ever wanted to have in our lives if we could avoid it. Burnout is not a sustainable nor a desirable trait to have in your day-to-day life. In short bursts, sometimes it has to happen. I get that. But as a long-term thing, burnout is not something that you want to have in your life. Another trait of Gen Z employees is that we want to do good work. We want to do good work during our work hours. If we can put in good time during our work hours, what is described in our contract, we don't want to touch anything after or before those hours. If we're not getting paid for it, why would we do that? Because we're not getting paid in order to survive and thrive in this world. And that's usually where the disconnect happens with previous generations. And speaking of thriving in this day and age, we are pretty much forced to create a side hustle of our own to make up that supplementary income in order to live the life that we have always desired. Now, previous generations, you could typically find your first job, you could move out and live on your own. Within a couple of years, you could make that first down payment on a house, and then you could grow and thrive that way. If you wanted to start a side hustle or you wanted to start a business, cool, that was extra, something that you could do that not many people did. But in this day and age, we're kind of forced to do that just to survive, just to make ends meet. And therefore, that makes our after work hours so much more important. Because growing a business and starting a side hustle, yes, it takes time. You have to put time, money, and effort into growing that thing. And so for especially the people that have long commutes, that time is super duper valuable to make the most of. And therefore, we are now putting the majority of our day to work, our side hustle, and then sleep for the rest of the day. So sacrifices have to be made in real time, no different than any other previous generation, just the fact that now we are forced to do that to survive instead of just having that as an option to thrive. So it's not just as though Gen Z is lazy or not hardworking, but it's a question of how much effort is going to be worth it for what we get out of it. And that's a constant ratio that we are always playing with and constantly trying to figure out. But at the end of the day, understanding the problem doesn't excuse it. We still have to adapt and overcome and learn how to make this current life our own. And yes, some of it is on us. We have to take accountability for our lack of action and our lack of effort. Discipline still matters. Work ethic still matters. We just have to work on reducing our excuses and figuring out a way to maximize our upside and minimizing our downside. We may live in a time where our downside seems comparably bigger to previous generations, but we cannot let that be an excuse. We cannot control the things that are out of our control, and therefore it's not something that we should be having to worry about. What we can worry about is our own actions. What can we do on a daily basis to improve the situation that you are in? Because after all, at this job, we are using it to sustain our lives. It may help build your business. It may help you start your investments until that business can be the thing that takes you from where you are to where you want to go. So for the time being, yes, reduce your excuses, keep working hard for your money, and keep putting time into what will grow. I hope this video has provided some insight as to why Gen Z has been different in the workplace compared to previous generations, and I'm currently looking forward to the changes that our generation will bring to the corporate world in the next 5 to 10 years. That's it from me, guys. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.